Hey yo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and this is the first request I'm taking in a while. I thought about maybe delaying this one until Halloween, but 5 or so months down the line, no one will really care. So Real Monsters. This show honestly was made earlier than I thought. It's a 90s cartoon, which means that I have to be careful with animation quality. I watched about 8 episodes of the show and I wanted to find a good episode, but most of them were in a pretty good range. What made me pick this particular episode is when reading the comment, the person specifically singled out Oblina to be one of the requesters' favorite characters. This show is gross, but in a good way. However, one thing you'll find surprising is that since this show hasn't aged well, it's not scary. It could have been before, but now it's pretty much your 90s Nick show with horror. So we start off with your average jock doing what your average jock does, being amazing at sports. You can clearly see the difference in personality here. Oblina is head over heels for the jock, Ickis could care less about the jock, and Crumb on the other hand has no opinion either way. You can also see the detail they put into everything being gross. I'd like to highlight that their clock is made out of synchronized roaches. It's a legitimate style. They aren't being gross just to be gross, it's their lifestyle. Also, they live under a dump, so don't expect them Mr. Clean. So your jock Glook makes the last bucket because jocks win games. Everyone also picks him up because classmates love popular people. It's what makes him popular, at least in cartoons. And at first glance, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, but he's quite talented at what he does.
I'm surrounded. You'll never notice me.
One thing about this show that many shows I've seen do wrong, that this show does right, is that even in a monster world, they act like humans. So many people can relate to this.
Oh, take away his popularity, his looks, his great scaring technique, and what do you have,
Yo.
Did I mention it can still be funny at times? So Oblina decides to treat the jock like any other monster by forcefully pushing everyone out the way to speak to this particular monster? Let's just go with this. And I'll be honest, I'm not the scariest monster of the bunch, if you catch my drift, but I legitimately thought about how gross this was and exactly why this would make anyone happy. But then again, in this world, that is probably the equivalent of flowers or an autograph or a sweater.
He liked me.
Oh, one moldy towel and you're all swoony. Aren't you getting a little ahead of yourself here?
He's right. So then the show takes you into the room in which these 3 friends sleep in. They also show you the simple, slightly even subtle things about their lifestyle and personality, like Grum putting his eyes in water like dentures, or Oblina obsessing over her looks in the mirror because of one sweaty towel. She claims she's going to have her braces tomorrow because she brushed her teeth years ago. They don't explain this part well. Doing something takes more effort than not doing something, and being a monster, brushing your teeth seems like smoking, which sends odd implications.
And you floss too.
Just once to see what it felt like.
Floss is weed to them, isn't it? Oblina runs to bed crying. Her friends, being the monsters they are, don't care. Her teeth is shiny and somewhat straight. They're probably reflective, but that comes into play later. So after one quick cradle with the towel, she's off to the dentist. I think. This world's equivalent of a dentist anyway. So long scene short, she gets braces. Nothing else exciting happens during this time anyway. These braces look horrible, yet Oblina also agrees with me, but in a bad way. So the horrible braces are still horrible to monster standards? I guess it's one of those things I shouldn't think about too much, or else this episode really wouldn't make any sense. She has to wear these braces for 2 weeks. She's not happy looking ridiculous, but if she wants to rancid teak for the jock fellow, then this is what she has to do. So by defying all logic, she somehow manages to get the braces over her teeth. Again, this raises many questions about exactly how, but this show doesn't really care about the exactly hows.
Oh, no one will ever notice.
They're good friends. So you would think that this episode is about making Oblina not smile so that the jock doesn't notice her teeth and therefore her braces. No, it was a swerve.
If you're not doing anything tonight, maybe you'd like to.
I'd love to.
Great. I think we could have some fun.
I love fun.
It'll be magic.
I love magic.
I'll pick you up later.
Oh, I a love later.
Right in the palm of his hand. So now you know that the only reason they're dating is because of the reflection, something I foreshadowed earlier in this review. So seeing as this episode is based around her, this review will follow accordingly. She's a dynamic character, so she should be able to change throughout the episode. That's usually what makes a dynamic character good, if the change is good, that is. So if you ever hear a reviewer use terms like learning nothing in the end, characters not changing, characters bound to mess up again in the exact same way, you should know exactly why they use these terms and why they keep popping up. I mean, I use all of these at one point or another, so exactly what does this mean? Why should characters change in the end? It's not a dumb question, it's fairly simple. In my opinion, dynamic characters should be present in every episode because it shows progression. If a show had no progression and no point because truly nothing happened, then why watch? You have a catalog of cartoons to watch and 24 hours in a day. If the show isn't funny and there's no plot and no characters learning anything in the end, then you would have known everything by not watching it because nothing happens. All it would boil down to is flashing images on the screen, and that doesn't advance the medium in any real way. Sure, you can make art just to make it, but when we accept staying within the limits and not telling anything as commonplace, then we shouldn't complain that cartoons weren't the way they were before. In a short sense, Oblina is a dynamic character.
Oh, why does he have to come in here? Why? I hate that he's coming in here. He'll strut around, flex his muscles.
He never shows up inside the house for a significant amount of time. Calm down. Was this a rewrite? So Oblina wants to take her muscle jock scaring. It's a thing. She wants to make the first impression on him. Also, unlike in the fishbowl, there's a progression in her shyness. At first she was shy. He approached her and said very nice things about her. Also, at her core, she always wanted him. She just never had the drive. So now that she has the date, she wants to take control. It's very natural. So remember what I said about him wanting to see his own reflection through her teeth? He decides to walk backwards, which is pretty clever when you think about it. Both are obsessed with looks. It's just that it's not mutual. So both of them get to look at the jock Gluck. I wouldn't call it contrived because both characters want this. So the jock Gluck plans a chill date talking about what he likes, but Oblina really wants to go scaring.
Why don't we go down to the pits and watch the tar bubbles pop?
Come on! We're going scaring.
Oblina becomes slightly unlikable, throwing tantrums and forcing a date that she never would have had if she wasn't this brute in the first place. He is clearly uncomfortable.
Well, why should I try when I know I can never top myself? Ooh, I could be even more fabulous.
It is not about that. Turning a human into a mass of quaking jelly is supposed to be fun.
What if I mess it up?
Then you try again. You don't have to be perfect.
This conversation here sets this show miles ahead of some of its competitors. It shows you that you should never judge a book by its cover, which is pretty simple to write, but it also shows that by living a lie, you lead other people to fall in love with your falsehood and not you. But this jock doesn't seem to care. He truly believes that he's fabulous with only a fluke to show, just like many celebrities nowadays. But what makes him a good jock is that he's able to become human and do this. He's out of touch, but it's justified. So they go scaring and he actually legitimately scares someone. So it's a nice moment in a nice episode. She comes back and she's swooning. So all is well as a good end to a good episode. Except that those braces were just for 2 weeks. So what would happen when those 2 weeks are up?
So, what do you think?
What happened to your braces?
I just got them off.
Whatever. Something came up, so I'm not taking you to the party. You know, something kind of important, so I guess, I'll be seeing you.
What?
This part always confuses me, and this is just a minor nitpick. So, this girl, who must have saw Jock Gluck leaving the other girl's house with the girl following behind her, just randomly accepts the date. The implications here are huge and not PG. However, Oblina learns that it isn't her, it's him. He never liked her for her in the first place, so it's a good moral. A safe moral, but a good moral. It also gave both sides fairly good reasons for their actions. So I believe you should watch this series. It's nothing truly spectacular, but it's good in a reliable way. Shows like this are needed. Think of a Steven Universe or Gumball. For every amazing show that could be really good or really bad to some people, there's a Clarence or a Ninjago that is on the same lineup with less attention that pumps out quality episodes that go under the radar but is reliable. So yes, I do like this episode and this season so far, so please don't judge this book by its cover. So this was the first request that I have taken. If you want to make a request, make it on the request page specifically on that video. I have a video up, and it's the request video, please make it on that particular video. The reason I say that is because if you do make a request and it's not on that video, I will not be taking it into account because I randomized the comments from that particular request video. So as always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha